Here we are, Eastern wild turkey, some potato and carrots with some butter. You notice something a little bit different about today's meal. Ale 8, the champagne of Kentucky. Everybody from Kentucky knows what Ale 8 is. I would hazard a guess that every single person in the state of Kentucky has drank Ale 8 at one time or another. Some people almost on a daily basis. It is a legend in Kentucky, this beverage. And what it is it's a soft drink. It's very much like ginger ale. If you can imagine ginger ale with half the carbonation and twice the ginger, that pretty much gives you a good idea of what Ale 8 is. And it's just really popular down there. So we thought we'd pick some up and enjoy it. Now, this is one of the most hardest earned meals I've ever had the privilege to enjoy. Oh my goodness. So many times people ask me, what does wild turkey taste like? Well, in one sense, it's very delicious. But in another sense, it's kind of disappointing. If you want to know what wild turkey tastes like, go to the grocery store and buy yourself a piece of turkey. That's exactly what it tastes like. Generally, the breast is a little bit darker and considerably more firmer. Not tough, but firm. I mean, these birds have to work for a living. This turkey breast was a little bit lighter than usual, but it was a pretty young bird. It was a young male. Well, I was in Kentucky. I hunted hard for 4 days. Well, 3.5, because on the morning of the fourth day, late in the morning, almost lunchtime, I was able to harvest this bird. This is bird number 23 with a flintlock, 28 overall. I would hazard a guess as to say at least half of the turkeys I've shot were after 10 o'clock in the morning. And that was the case with this one. It was a little bit of a rough morning, and I got away late, but I knew exactly where I wanted to go and exactly what time of day I wanted to be there. So there was a little bit of a bench. It was a sloping bench. It wasn't level. It was a good bit of a slope on it, but not enough to bother a turkey. And it was pretty darn close to the road. So I got off the road as far as what I thought was legal, and then I looked for the next biggest tree, which would made it extra legal. And I got set up beside it, and there was a little bit of green briar and stuff in front of it, and I cut out a few holes that I could shoot through. Now, the way I had it set up, turkeys could come from the right in front of me and from the left in front of me. There's a slim chance they could come up directly in front of me, but I really didn't think that would happen. Now, there was a fire ban on, and it was dry. Oh, the leaves were so crunchy. So I'd sit there, and I would call about once every 5 or 10 minutes, make a series of about 5 yelps, and that was it. And there wasn't much action, and then I heard crunch on the leaves behind me and to my right. I said, that's the turkey. Crunch, crunch. Then there's a bunch of crunching. Turned out to be 5 big jakes. Now, for those not familiar with turkey hunting, a jake is a 1-year-old bird. He hasn't quite reached full maturity yet. But I had to call him across the paved road, which I didn't think really would happen. And at one point, I'm going to estimate, in hindsight, I'm going to say they were about 10 yards to my right. And anybody who's hunted turkey and had turkey come up behind them at 10 yards to the right, that's a losing proposition about 99% of the time. But I didn't move. I just froze. I even closed my eyes. I was afraid to look. Every once in a while, I'd open my eyes a little bit and look, and there he was, or them. There they were. And eventually they kept going straight, and they were nervous. They were on edge. Not because of me, because they had all been beaten up at one time or another by a mature tom. So they were going straight away, and I was thinking to myself, turn left, because that's where I had my decoy set up at about 25 yards. And when they got to about 25 yards, they turned left. And at that point, I knew I was going to kill a bird. So they started working toward, they could see the decoy, but they were looking everywhere for the tom because they were afraid they were going to get beat up again. So I was looking down the barrel of the gun, and the lead turkey, which happened to be the biggest and most mature, he had a 4-inch beard. Now, some jakes will just have enough of a beard to barely clear their feathers, 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, but a 4-inch beard on a jake, sometimes that's what they refer to as a super jake. He's an extra mature young bird, but not quite a full mature bird. He'll breed hens if he can, but for the most part, he just ends up getting beat up all summer, and next year will be his year. So he got about, all 5 of them got about 25 yards, and the maturest bird was in the lead, and he paused for just a second, and by that time, the bead of my smoothbore was probably about 2 inches below his head. And when I pressed on the trigger, the gun just roared, and there was smoke everywhere, but I seen him drop straight to the ground, and then there was birds flying all over the place. And when the smoke cleared, there he was, laying on the ground, great big turkey, and that is what we're enjoying today. Now, in one of my last videos, I commented that I was going to drive 1,000 miles to hunt these turkeys. And I was not in the least bit worried that my gun would go off. And I was right, it went off instantly. So if your gun doesn't go off every single time, all the time, 100% of the time, almost instant, it's not the gun's fault, it's your fault. Pay attention. There are things you can do to make sure that your gun's going to go off. And that's part of the aura, romance, whatever you want to call it, of hunting with a flintlock, is taking care of the gun so that it will go off. If you do what you're supposed to do, it's going to go off. And shortly after I got my turkey, I got set up on the road. There's some really nice background to take a photograph. And I got my turkey all set up. And I was going to wait for somebody to come along, and I'm going to flag them down and see if they take a picture. I'm going to show you some of them photographs. Sure enough, the truck comes along. I wave my arms. He stops, and I see 2 guys with a camel. Right away, I know they're going to help me out. And then the truck stops behind him, 2 more hunters. So there's 4 guys, all part of the same group. A few seconds later, another truck stops. Now, he wasn't part of the same group. But I thought, oh my goodness, this is getting kind of crowded. But nicest bunch of guys. I didn't get their names, but I wouldn't mind hunting with them or visiting with them again. We had a really good time. And I stopped and chatted with them again the next morning on my way out. Just the greatest bunch of guys. So if any of them see this video, thank you very much for stopping and taking the time to take a few pictures. It made this old guy very happy. Getting back to the meal, the potatoes and the carrots were just cooked. And then I put some butter on them, and they soaked in the butter while the turkey was cooking. And then when I was done, I poured what was left over the turkey. There's 2 things in the world that taste good on everything. One is bacon and one is butter. So if you don't have one, you should have the other. Wow, this is a great meal. So today I picked up some some cards out of the trail camera, so make sure you stay till the end. I know we're going to have some good footage of some kind of wildlife, probably deer. I got the one notification and I checked, and it had 7 does in front of my camera. Well, those 7 does each have twins. That'd be 21 deer by this fall. Now, not all of them are going to make it, obviously, but we can always hope. Now, of course, because this is a wild game, we're going to have some dessert. A little bit of bourbon, imported from Kentucky. The one thing I picked up when I was in Kentucky was some salt pork. We don't have that here in Nova Scotia. I've never even seen it in any other parts of Canada. Even some of the grocery stores in Kentucky don't have it, but Kroger does. So I got a few packages of salt pork. So we're going to have kind of a long hunter meal with some salt pork, some backstrap, some kind of bannock. I think that'd be good. So we're going to finish this up. Have a little bit of dessert. Don't forget to stay tuned for that trail camera footage. See whatever I got. I don't know what it's going to be, but it'll be something. So time for a little bit of dessert at the cabin. When I was in Kentucky, I picked up this tiny little bottle. Don't know how many ounces it is, but it's 200 milliliters, which is not very much. You can tell by the way it fits in my hand, but it has a cork. Now, it's hard to find bottles this small with a cork, and I thought that'd be kind of cool for trekking in the woods to keep, olive oil or some other cooking oil in it or something. So I bought it, and yeah, I paid too much money for it. What the heck? Now, it's Peerless Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 110.8 proof. It's pretty strong stuff. I usually don't buy bourbon that strong. But we're going to have just a little taste. And it's going to be our dessert after our wild turkey meal. Ooh. There we go. That cork's a bit tight. One of the relatively common themes if you look back at some of my other videos, my wood stove lunches have involved wild game or fish. Brook trout, rainbow trout, moose, venison, wild turkey. There's something about wild game, when you put the effort into it and you spend the time outdoors, not only spend time in nature, but becoming a part of nature, the meals just have so much more flavor. I just appreciate them more, probably because I work so hard for them. If I were to work a regular time job and use that money to buy the meals, I'd probably pay a couple $100 a meal. But there's something about wild game prepared properly, prepared simply, like not extravagantly fancy recipes, but just cooked properly. They taste amazing. And that's just the way it is. So we're going to give this a little taste at 110 proof. Oh my goodness. That's pretty smooth. That'd be downright dangerous. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for the visit, and we'll see you again soon.